So the goal today is I'll give you a little brief intro to the Golden Circle by Simon Sinek. So if you've never watched the video online, I'd highly recommend it. One of the most viewed TED Talks. I'll give you a little insight how it looks like, how it's working, and then on the second step, my goal is to get you in a comfortable, let's say, starting position that you can work on your why. So the goal today is not that everybody in this Zoom meeting has his own why. That's not realistic. So finding your own why takes some time, but afterwards I can send you the questions and the steps how you can keep on working on your personal why. So it's more about showing how it works, and then in the next step you can do it by yourself. This is kind of how it goes today. So I think I'm gonna share my screen.
Sounds good. Maybe one thing before we go forward to the audience. Who of you has dealt with the topic before? Have you listened to the podcast, to the TED Talks? Have you read books? How far are you with your personal why? Just leave some comments in the chat so that we know where to. Yes, that's good. I think so. Probably most of you have heard about it. Very few. Okay, some have read a lot.
Read Simon Sinek. Which book? Which ones?
Don't be shy, people. Talk to us via the chat.
Nice.
Okay, so I think we have a mixture of people who are familiar with the topic and some who are quite new. Okay.
Well, for the ones they know, it's maybe like a little fresh up, and for the ones it's new, like I said, it's a brief intro. Simon Sinek had 1,000 of talks and wrote books and stuff, so it's really like an intro. And if you're interested in, I highly suggest you keep on going, reading Simon Sinek. So is it working with the screen?
Yep, works well.
Perfect. So as I said, like it's an intro to the Golden Circle, with the goal to get nearer to your own personal why. And like I said, if you really want to find your why, it takes like a day where you really keep on working on your personal why. But I think I'm going to show you 2 ways of how you can do it, and those 2 ways probably can help you get closer to your why. And also, like what I think is important, I think everybody has a why. Like everyone on this world has a personal why. I think most of the people don't know it, or it's hard to write it down or hard to express. But everybody has a why. And I think it's very powerful if you get to know your why and they're able to write it down, because then you really understand the principle of it and you can work with it. So a few words about myself. I'm Janik. I call myself a solution finder / optimist. So there's a couple, probably very few days in a year where you find me unhappy. So I always try to find the good parts, the good ways. Also, like in current situation, like right now, I think they're on the end. We have a lot of possibilities out of this. But I worked in my own company, so we had a family-owned business. I'm going to tell a little bit about this more afterwards. And then we sold the company, and then I was at a point where like, well, what I'm going to do now? And then I started working for a consulting firm, and then I ended up within Siemens right now, which is like the complete opposite from family-owned business with 40 people to an international company with 380,000 employees. It's a big difference, and for me it was always important to answer the question why I'm doing this, and that's why I'm so. For me, it's very important to understand my why, and that's my goal, to help you finding your way. So most of you people hopefully know all of these people on the photo, and they have one very big topic in common. They are all not going after money or anything. They all have a very strong why. If you look at Steve Jobs, for example, his purpose in life was to leave traces in the universe. And when you look at Apple, probably you can say one of the few people on this world that he achieved his vision or his purpose. If you look at a guy like Jeff Bezos, he thinks in 100 to 200, 300 years. So his goal is with Amazon to finance his rocket company so that the children of his children of his children have a sustainable world where they can live on. So all these people have a pretty strong purpose. Why are they doing what they're doing? And also, when you look at the Wright brothers on the top left, when you see their stories, when they first had their first flight in 1903 in Kitty Hawk, there was another guy, Samuel Pierpont Langley. A lot of you don't even know who this guy was. If you look at Samuel Pierpont Langley, he had a seat at Harvard, and he was a very good engineer, and he was founded by the US government. And back in the day, he had 50,000 US dollars to develop the first airplane. But his goal was to make money out of that, to become famous, to make money out of it, and to be the first one who built it. The Wright brothers had the dream of flying. So when you look at the circumstances, Langley had the way better circumstances to build the first plane. But in the end, the Wright brothers made it. And the funny thing about this is when they first made their flight on 19th December 1903, Langley quit. So he didn't even keep on going, following his dream or chasing his goal. He quit. But in the end, the Wright brothers are the ones who made the first flight and which are the ones who were able to fly today. But if you look at all these people, they have very, very strong visions. Or if you look at Martin Luther King, he didn't say, I have a plan. He said, I have a dream. And he had a dream which had a very, very big impact on all our lives, I guess. And when you look at the golden circle, it's like a very basic principle Simon Sinek, well, let's say developed. It's like a circle out of 3 circles. That's it. It's very simple. But it starts with he broke it down. When you look at a company or when you look at yourself, if you're a freelancer, you probably know what you're doing. So you have some products, you have services you offer, you have a certain role at the job. There's something what you're doing. For example, Apple builds computers or builds iPhones or whatever. For example, I'm offering coaching sessions, whatever. So this is what you do. I think most of you guys know what you're doing. And the second step, we probably know how we're doing it. So we probably know our strength, we maybe know our values and the guiding principles. That's also what I think is a very important point. But this one is also getting a little less specific probably. So for example, if you look at Apple, they do products that are beautifully designed or like well engineered or whatever. So a lot of companies know this one. But if it comes down to the why, this is your purpose, what you believe, why you believe in what you're doing, why are you doing what you're doing. This is something a lot of people don't know anymore. And if you now raise your hand and say, well, I'm doing it because of money, no, the money isn't a result. So if you're earning money in the end, if you're successful with that, that's a result, that's not the purpose. And if you really like, I like to take Apple as an example, well, probably Simon has the same example in his speech. If you look at Apple, they have beautiful, like great products. I'm a big Apple fan, I have to admit, using iPhones, iPads, whatever. But if you compare the products, like if I compare like a Dell computer or whatever computer IBM to Apple, there are a lot of companies on the market which can build pretty good products with very good hardware and very good software. But in the end, I'm willing to pay more for an Apple product. And that's not because it's such great hardware or anything. Even if I just compare the hard facts, other products are better. But I still love buying Apple products. And if you look at why, because Apple turned around how you communicate. If you look at like the average company, they're communicating from the outside in. So they're communicating from the what to the how and maybe to the why. So they're going in there like, okay, I take Dell as an example. Dell goes here and like, okay, we built great products, great computers. They have very good hardware. They're well designed, well engineered, and manufactured globally, whatever. But they don't have a why. If you look at Apple, they communicate the other way around. Is anybody still hearing me? Because I think Melly. Oh, okay.
Yep. Sorry, it was just my connection, but everything is fine.
Okay, great. So if you look at Apple, they turned around how they communicate. And if you look at them, with everything, they believe with everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in making a difference. The way we challenge the status quo is by making the products that are beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. So if you compare this to we will create computers with great hardware, well designed, which one are you going to buy? So basically the people are going to buy why you do and not what you do. And if you take this for yourself, if you're going to ask yourself, for example, now, if you compare yourself or your services, I take it to Freelancer for now, if you compare your services, I bet you find like probably 1,000 freelancers, which pretty much same qualified like you. They probably have made the same courses, same experience, whatever. So now the question is, why should the client choose you instead of the other one? And I strongly believe if you find your why you're doing this, and you're able to sell your why, probably the client who fits you or you fit to the client will choose you. And also what's quite interesting, if I look at the why is it even working, it's a very, very basic science behind it. So if you look at the brain, we have two different parts in the brain. Like there are many more, but two which are important for this model. You have the neocortex. The neocortex is the part which is responsible for the rational analytical thoughts. So numbers, so pretty much the outside, the what. So the neocortex is the part in the brain which rationalizes a decision for you. So if you make a decision, for example, a car, you're going for the mileage, you're going for the price, you're going for whatever facts, the neocortex is a part that makes this decision or rationalizes this decision. But the good part is, well, good, I think on the other hand is bad because we don't know a lot about this, but the limbic system is responsible for all the feelings we have. So everything we do, how we behave, who we are, is pretty much based in the limbic system. And the limbic system is the part which reacts to the why. So if we make a decision, you sometimes know it, you like feel your stomach and like, well, it doesn't feel right. We don't know why, we can't explain it why, but it doesn't feel right. Like you come in the room and something doesn't feel right. Well, you can't explain why, but it doesn't feel right. So this is the part in your brain, the limbic system, which explains you like something is not right. And the limbic system is way more powerful than the neocortex. For example, like if you look at your brain, like the part that's making rational decisions is working with like 30-bit, and everything like the limbic system is working with like a 30,000 bits. So you're probably going to see which part is going to win. So if you look at this, there's one more like psychological part, which explains why this is working. Probably some of you know that. Professor Dr. Nosra Pezeshkian, he was a German psychologist and neurologist, and he pretty much basically explained the system why we have two different motivations. We have a towards motivation and away from motivation. And the idea is that the towards motivation, you probably heard this a lot, that people are telling you need a positive goal, you need positive emotions, you need a positive target you're willing to go to. That's the towards motivation. And this one is way more powerful than the away from. Depending, there's another thing, if you have a gun, like if somebody's standing in front of you with a gun, you probably have a pretty high away from motivation. But the target or the goal is always to find your towards motivation. And if I take this example, I want to lose some weight. The away from is because I feel uncomfortable, or because the scale tells me so, or the society tells me, whatever. But if you find the towards motivation from this example, maybe because I want to feel fit and healthy, maybe because I want to run a marathon, maybe I want to go hiking with my kids, whatever. But this is like towards motivation. And this is also like something, if you are, for example, know your why, the towards, when I want to go, what is my goal, what is my purpose, that's the towards motivation. So I think it's very important that you understand why I'm getting up in the morning. And if you understand this, you pretty much know your motivation or your bigger target you want to achieve. And also Mr. Pezeshkian had another very simple principle. It's the 4 areas of life. When you look at your life, you pretty much have 4 different areas. You have your professional finances, it's like your daily job, it's your bank account, it's insurances, everything that falls into this one. So if you, for example, right now, for a lot of people, this area is kind of in trouble maybe because of Corona. Maybe some of us lost their jobs, some of us lost some money, some of us don't know where the future is going to with the job. So this is something which might not be that stable at the moment. The second one, health and fitness. This one maybe due to Corona is pretty good at the moment. We start cooking, we start working out, whatever. This is about your personal health and fitness. And the third one, family and social contact, which is very important. It's about your social interactions with your own family, social interactions with different people, with other people. This is, for example, right now a very hard topic due to Corona if you're not allowed to see anybody else. And I mean, a webinar, like seeing someone virtually, is different than seeing them in person. And the third one is the meaning and the culture. And this is the one where your vision or your why is. And this is also the part we're going to look at more detailed. So I'll tell you a little story from my experience or from my life. Maybe some of you know wakeboarding. This is a sport where you can ride a board behind a cable or whatever. This is what I basically did my whole life. So I grew up in the family business, started wakeboarding, and we built those cable parks worldwide. And then 2 years ago, we had to sell the company. And at that point, I was very lost. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. But before we sold the company, what we did, if you look at our market, there were like 2 more competitors to us. So very small market, very high price pressure, and pretty much everybody knew everybody in this market. So we started like, okay, we somehow have to differentiate us from the others. So what we did, we started working with all the employees, with 40 employees, working on the values and our vision. So our purpose in the end was we build dreams. And this came from my father, who founded the company 25 years ago. And he always had the story, like when he first set up a cable park, when he first saw kids getting around the first corner and seeing the smile of their faces, and then the parents going around hugging their kids, and they were so proud. So they fulfilled dreams. On the other hand, we build dreams maybe for investors, or maybe build dreams for people who went wakeboarding all their life and then build their own cable park. So our purpose was to build dreams. Before that, our purpose was to build cable parks. And the problem was when we still were at the point where we said, okay, we're going to build great cable parks. They're going to be very good in quality, manufactured in Germany, blah, 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 blah. Well, the exact same thing our competitors did too. So they had very good cable parks, good quality, even cheaper, way cheaper. So we somehow had to find a way, okay, how can we sell our products? How can we sell our story? So we worked on our vision, so what our purpose was. And also we worked on our values. So those values pretty much drove our dreams. So we had Living Water, which was about the passion, the First Lab about the quality, the One Team explains itself, and the Flow and Perfection for innovation. So these were our values and the purpose behind it. And then we had one client, he pretty much paid double the price just because of this picture. Just because of this picture and the idea that we fulfilled his dream. So this is very powerful for us. And as I said, we had to sell the company. We had a financial crisis, so we got an investor and we had sold it. And that's a different talk. But I was very lost at this moment. Because if you look at those 4 areas in life, like profession and finances, well, I pretty much lost my job. I lost a lot of money. So I lost this one. Health and fitness, I wasn't very healthy at the moment. Fitness, all right. Family and social contact. Family was pretty bad. Social contact was all right. I had a pretty good girlfriend back in the day, which she supported me a lot. And the fourth area was the meaning and culture. Like I pretty much lost everything. I was like, well, what I'm going to do? Like I have no idea. So before that, my future was set. I always knew, okay, I'm going to take over the company, going to run the company, blah, blah, blah. But then I was standing there, I'm like, well, what I'm going to do? And I really started the process of understanding my personal why. Why do I get up in the morning? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And today I can tell you, I want to inspire people and support them in unleashing their potential, that we can positively influence the world of tomorrow. So this is basically why I get up in the morning, because I believe that everybody watching here worldwide, everybody on this world has something in them to reach wonderful things. And I sometimes think that this potential needs to be, well, unleashed. And sometimes, for whatever reason, you're not able to do it by yourself. And so this is why I get in the morning. And this also explains like why I can do a webinar like this, for example, now, because my goal is maybe I can inspire one or two of you, maybe more, to work on their whys. And probably because of that, something greater happens. So this is why I get up in the morning. And this is what really helped me back then to find a job, getting back like with my family, getting set up with my finances and everything. But really everything I do, I somehow ask myself, is it somehow supporting other people? Is it somehow positively influencing tomorrow? Do I have any positive impact on tomorrow? And this is my goal and my vision, why I'm doing what I'm doing. And to help you finding your personal why, there are tons of different ways what you can do. And I think there are two very, let's say easy ones, but very effective ones. With easy, I don't mean easy by doing them. They sound very easy. So the first one, which I want to go a little deeper with you, is you do it by yourself. I think if you do it by yourself, it's like a journey. Well, you have your why in you, and I think if you do it by yourself, you're getting closer to the journey into yourself. And it's very easy. There's 15 questions, and we're going to have a look at those questions afterwards. Those are questions you're not going to answer within like the next 2 minutes. They probably take a day. They probably take 5 minutes, whatever. And there's no right or wrong to these questions, but they are questions helping you preparing the second step. And the second step is writing your own speech. And there are two different ways what you can do. You can either write your own funeral speech. It sounds weird. It sounds very, very bad, but it's very, very helpful. Or the other option is you write your own birthday speech when you're turning 70 or 80. And the thing what that does is you're taking a step to the future from now, and you see yourself standing in the future and have to look back what you've done. And if you answered those questions before, you have a pretty good guideline what you can write in such a speech. And then out of that, you can formulate your own why. So this is where we're going to take a little deeper look in the next step. And the other one, which is also from Simon Sinek, maybe some of you read the book, Finding Your Why. This is basically with a partner, and it's based on stories. So what you basically do is you find stories from your life, from your childhood, whatever, like good stories, bad stories, highlights, lowlights, everything. And the idea is you try to find common topics or common experiences. So look a little more detailed. First of all, you have to find your partner. And at this point, don't take your life partner, don't take your wife, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever. Find someone who is probably close to you, but not too close. And you need someone who's willing to keep on asking questions. In the second step, you should inform your partner that he's part of your project, so that he knows what to do. Then define a date and location where you're going to work together. And then next step, collect your stories. Go back in your life, start collecting stories, talk with your parents, talk to your brothers, sisters, find stories, as I said, good ones and bad ones, and you can pretty easy like do it. I'm just gonna draw. Oh. So probably what you can just do if you write your stories, you just draw a line in the middle, and then you have a highlights and lowlights, and each dot is like a positive or negative story. And then in the end, you try to find common topics in those stories. But it's like a timeline. You can even walk it if you want to. I can lay it on the floor and just keep on walking it. But just collect stories you experienced. Collect stories where you were very happy. Collect stories where you were very unhappy or something bad happened and how you got out of it. And then next step, grab your partner and tell your stories. And then the job from your partner is to collect or like to understand those stories. And out of these stories, identify your topics. And then in the end, you can study why out of these topics. If you want to do it with your partner, there's a very good process described by Simon Sinek. I can send you the link with this presentation with the questions, which is it's guiding you through the process. It's very good. I did it myself. It's pretty nice actually. But as I said, like I think the other option, if you start asking yourself questions you maybe don't want to ask yourself, or you may be afraid of or scared of asking yourself, I think it's something that also helps you getting closer to know yourself. So what you also can do is you can do both options. Like you can go in and do it by yourself, and on the second step do it with a partner, or the other way around. It's very helpful in both ways. But I suggest you do one of these. But the other one is they have 15 questions, and we're going to go through those questions real easy. But as I said, these are not questions you're going to answer probably now. If you have the answer right now, just write it down. If not, take the presentation, take those questions, take the time what we have maybe right now at the moment, and find answers to those questions. And if we look at those questions, what do I desire more than anything else? Is there anything that I'm really dreaming of? Just something I dreamt of my whole life? There's something I'm striving for, something I'm really desiring, but not fulfilling for some reason. The second one, imagine that you have all the money you need, all the time, all the resources you can think of. So a lot of times it's money and a lot of times it's time. If you would have all these, what would you do? For example, I would probably go on a world tour for whatever reason. I don't know why. And what does my everyday look like that I dream of? Like, how does your perfect day look? Because a lot of the times we're driven by external factors. For example, I have a meeting at 9 a.m., I have to get up at 9 a.m., or I have to get the kids to school, whatever. But maybe that's not my ideal day. Maybe I'm the guy who wants to get up at 5, read a book for half an hour, and meditate, start working out. I have no idea. But write down how your perfect day looks like. Who is in this perfect day? Is it just you? Is it your partner? Is it your family? Is it friends? But how would your perfect day look like? And the next question, like, what would inspire me every day anew? So are there any things that inspire you every day? Maybe it's books, maybe it's people, maybe it's ideas, maybe it's dreams, whatever it is. But something you say, well, that could inspire me today, tomorrow, the day after, whatever it might be. And then the next one, well, doesn't matter if you're freelance or working for a company, but what would drag me every morning to my workplace full of joy? Is it the task I'm working on? Is it the nice office? Is it maybe the money? Is it the colleagues? Whatever is it? Why do I get up in the morning, take my computer and get to the office? For example, this was a question I answered myself, like in the job before. I couldn't find an answer to that. So in the end, I quit because I didn't have any joy going to the office in the morning. Like I had nice colleagues, I was paid well, whatever, but I didn't feel any joy doing it. And I asked myself, well, why should I do it? And there was no reason for me. And one important thing when you answer those questions, write them down. Like don't just answer them in your brain, write them down. That's really something different if you start working with your brain and the way of writing things down. And then the next one, what else do I want to achieve in my life? And this one really probably going to answer that one when you write your speech. When you look back, when you're 80 or when you're writing your own funeral speech, when you're like in your grave and you look back, what did I achieve in my life? What do I want to achieve in my life? Now, this one is very close with the next one. What can I do that will remain after my life is over? So if I take an example, Steve Jobs had the vision of leaving traces in the universe. Well, he definitely did. Well, Apple is one of the most valuable companies in the world. Everybody's using the products, everybody's talking about him, whatever. So he had definitely something which remained after his life was over. And the next one, what acknowledgement and what area will I gain? For example, do I want to become a professor in a certain area? Do I want to become an expert in a certain area? Do I want to be acknowledged in anything else? Do I want to be a tennis star? Whatever it might be, maybe there's something you want to gain in your life. And this one goes very close to the next one. What other outstanding achievements would I like to accomplish? For example, what I had with this question back in the days, when we still had the company, there's a German, how's it called? Like certain companies get like certified for the best employers. And my goal always was to become one of these companies when we still had the company. And now I don't have the company anymore, so I had to find something else. And what do I want to experience in my life that I really enjoy? Something I would deeply love to do. Something I really enjoy, whatever it might be. Traveling the world, whatever. Going on a hike with my family, whatever it might be. Write it down. And then next ones. Numbers are wrong, I just see. When you think of someone, or when I think of someone I deeply respect, which 3 qualities do I most admire about him or her? This is something, the first point, you have to find someone you deeply respect, or you're like an idol you're looking up to, or who inspires you. And which qualities do you admire about him or her? So maybe because it's very respectful, might be because he's very giving, he's smart, whatever it might be, just write it down. And in the second step, what you can do here is write down which qualities you have. And next question, this is very, let's say, deep. If there's a sentence on my gravestone that summarizes who I really was in my life, what is that sentence? So if people close to your family or whoever someday goes to your gravestone and looks at that gravestone, what's going to be written there? There's just going to be written there, Janik, and my birthday and my death day, or nice sentence, whatever it might be. This one summarizes very good. Oh, Millie is raising her hand. One short interruption. There we are again, I guess. Huh. There she is. Sorry for the interruption. Some technical problems.
Sorry, guys.
So, and the next one, which values play a decisive role in my life? I had this one when I showed the we call it the value house of our company, the vision and the values of our company we had. I think values are also in very close connection to the why, and this one is very. I'm a believer that if you know your values, you know why you make certain decisions or take certain decisions, why you're doing what you're doing. And this one is also very, what I think very, very important to know what are my personal values, especially if you're a freelancer or working by yourselves. A lot of the times your personal values and your personal why reflect what you're doing like for the business side. So if you're personal side, for example, one of your values might be respect, and it's very close that your like professional values are close to that. And also like the personal why is very connected to your like professional why. And then the next one, what talents and strengths do I rely on in my life? So this one is might be very hard because the things or like the strengths we have, we often don't recognize, because this is something which is easy for us. So instead of strength, you can think about what's easy for me, and what tasks I don't need a lot of energy. What do I like to do? Write down. So those strengths you can rely on in every situation. And the last one, what would I do if I had the assurance that I would be successful? This one is very close to one of the first ones. If you think you had all the resources, what would you do? And this one is you can start dreaming like, if there's no chance I could like a fuck up. I'm sorry, pardon my French. What would I do? Like if I have the 100% assurance, what would I do? Would I maybe start a company, quit my job? I have no idea what. But this is something which is very powerful, because you really start thinking about things you could do. And I mean, nobody's guaranteeing your life that you are successful. You're going to be successful. Nobody. But I'm definitely thinking at a certain point, you should start figuring it out and try it. And if you have all those questions answered for yourself, and maybe during the talk now, you had like 1 or 2 questions, you're like, well, maybe I have an answer to that. Or some of them you're like, well, I have no idea. But if you had those questions, like answered those questions, you're the next step. And the next step, as I said, is write your speech. And this one is, it really depends on what type of person you are. If you're more the one who wants to have a birthday party at 80 years old, or you want to write your own grave speech. It has pretty much the same result. I had the experience writing my birthday speech. It was more positive, and the grave speech was like a little more sad. But in the end, pretty much the same topics occurred. So you can definitely do both, or you can even do both of them if you want to. But take all the answers you have, keep them in mind, and with that knowledge, write your story. And really write it down. Don't just make it up in your mind, write it down. Also, for all these questions, write your answers down. And if you don't have an answer to a question, just leave it. Just leave it for the moment. Take a look at it the next day or a couple of hours later, whatever. But there's no need, like no pressure to answer it. And then in the end, the goal is that you write down your personal idea of your why. And that you can do very easily with the framework to whatever you want to do, with the impact that anything happens. So this is how you can write it down, but also here at this point, write it down. Don't be afraid of writing it down. Use a pencil. You can erase it afterwards, whatever. But just write something down you're thinking of. And also, there is no right or wrong in your why. Like there is not the right why you might have, or not the wrong one. There is a certain why you have, and also the why you have is already developed when you're like a young teenager. So this is something, all the values you have, your purpose you have, everything that's pretty much already developed in yourself. You just have to find it and write it down and describe it. And there's also one another thing is, if you start looking for visions or purposes of certain people, you maybe find yourself like, well, that's exactly what I'm going to do, or what I wanted to do. And it's totally okay to get inspired by other visions or other purposes, 100%. You can even like take the sentence, write it down for yourself and adjust it a little bit. It's totally fine. Because a lot of the times, if you look at the purpose, it's a very high, like on a very high flight level. It's not very, very specific or anything. So it might be that it exactly sounds the same like the purpose or the vision of somebody else, but that's totally fine. So this is basically how you can start working with your own personal why. I'm going to send you all these questions so you can start working on them. And if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to me anytime, or if you need a partner working on your on the partner version of that, you can feel free to reach out to me anytime. But I really would like to encourage you to try it out. For example, now take the days where it might be a little calmer at the moment. Take those days, answer those questions, find why. Because I really believe in, if you know your personal why, it's going to unleash a lot of potential, a lot of possibilities for yourself.
I think we
that's
already
already
have
the first question from
exactly.
Laura.
She says, when we think about the answer, can we go very far, or is it useless? Like as an example, I want to be queen of the world and provide peace and justice and environmental policy. Like, how far could those answers be, in your opinion, Janik?
Well, there is no time horizon, like a way of how big you think. There's no limitation to that. For example, if I look at Jeff Bezos, who's thinking in like 200-year steps, so everything he does today has an impact in 200 years. This is something I can't even think about anymore. So there's no like time horizon you're gonna look at it. It's more like there's also in the questions, when you answer those questions, there's a point. The one, what can I do that will remain after my life is over? So this is something that is somewhere in the future, no specific time frame or anything. And on the other hand, I want to be the queen of the world and provide peace and justice and environmental policy. Well, this could be something you're really passionate about. So why shouldn't it be something you get up in the morning? So if this is really your belief or your purpose you want to do, as I said, there's no right or wrong. At this one, for example, it might be a little specific to say, I want to be the queen of the world. Like, it's very specific. I want to be this, or I want to be that. And it's easy if you look at your purpose, like a little less detailed. Because if you do it a little less detailed, it allows you a little more, more variety of what you're doing with this purpose. But definitely you can, like, as I said, there's no right or wrong. The important thing for you is that you feel for yourself that this is your personal why, and not the why of whoever your best friend or whoever told you what to do, but that you can get up in the morning, take a look in the mirror and say, well, this is my why. This is why I get up, and this is why I love my life and want to keep going. Hope this answered your question.
So are there more questions from you guys? How those questions appear to you? Like, do you have any more specific questions? How do you feel about it? Do you think it's easy for you, or you think you need some time to answer the questions? How's your feedback on that? Some of you maybe have already answered the questions. Have some best practices to share. Now it goes. What happens if we like too many things? We could be doing everything.
Well, that's a good one. Well, at this point, it's hard for me to believe that you have too many things. I think it's hard for you to like bring everything in order. And that's, for example, if I, from my experience, if I look at my personal why, it's very, let's say, loose, but this allows me to do anything I want to do that pays like onto the purpose. For example, I can give a webinar for now, but I also could teach or give swimming lessons and just look at the lake. So that's why swimming. So there's a lot of things, very like wide variety of what I could do. And if you struggle like to bring them in order, if like really like sitting there and like, well, I want to do this, I want to do this, I like this, and I like that. What you can do is write everything down like in each separate paper, like a piece of paper, and then you can do like a race between those. So you can ask yourself, like, if I do this, maybe I fulfill the other point, or if I do this, do I fulfill the other one? Or if you can also do it, like imagine it, like if those two topics, for example, like I love giving webinars and I love whatever, cooking, for example, I can ask myself, like, if I look at the race between those two and look at the target line and there's a photo taken, which one will be first? This just helps your brain to think about which one is a little more important for you. But I don't think there's like too many things. Just really try to get down, like also in your mind, what you can imagine of if you write your speech, like your whatever death speech or birthday speech. What would this person tell about you, looking back from the future? Which things would have you done? This might answer this one. And Kevin asked, how do you check your answers? What do you mean with how do you check your answers? Maybe you can describe a little more what you mean with the check, because as I said, there's no right or wrong. Prove it. Okay. Prove it. Well, what you can easily do, you can ask people around you. You can ask good friends, you can ask your family, you can ask people who know you pretty well, and check with them, like, do they see the same? Because it's very hard to check with yourself, because it's something that you thought of. But as I said, if you have this question and start thinking about an answer, the answer is probably the one you were looking for. So there's, as I said, no right or wrong. But if you want to like get a little sparing on that, or maybe further ideas, I would recommend to take a trusted person and ask the same question, what do they think? And don't give them the answer you have, give them the same answer about you. The same question, sorry. So I ask them, what do you think in this point about me? And then see how the answer is going to look like. But I recommend not going there, hey, I have this question, this is my answer, what do you think of it? Everybody who's close to you will probably say, well, this is what I've said, what I would say probably. So try to get a little more honest feedback on that.
Barbara asking, in answering the questions, will a vision also work in your eyes? Like a vision.
What do you mean with a vision work in your eyes? Like if you imagine the answer, or like close your eyes and... Is that the question?
The question.
Develop an image. Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's, for example, there are different kinds of people. So for example, I'm more like an image guy. I need photos or images of things, or like I love touching things or feeling things. Other people are more like they need to hear anything. So you can answer those questions like you can draw them. You can go on the internet, look for pictures and put pictures on there. So there's no limit to answering them in writing, but do something that creates something. That's what I mean. You can answer your questions by singing them. You can answer questions by mathematic, whatever, calculations. So you can 100% go inside yourself, like especially vision, like people with a strong visionary. Imagine those pictures. You can draw the pictures. It doesn't have to look great. You don't have to be an artist or anything. As at least, well, it has to answer your question. Like if you, for example, draw a picture of your whatever. When I think of someone I deeply respect, you can draw the picture of the person you respect, and then draw those qualities, for example. So 100%, if you have the idea, or like if you're more the vision type of person, you can definitely do it. Now, next one from Fareshta. Once we found our why, how can we stay focused? As we often tend to forget our purpose when we don't get or see results quickly. Wow, that's a tough one. I think the first step, when you really write it down, it's easier for you to stay focused on that. And the vision, in my eyes, is something, or like the purpose is something, there's no point in life where you reach the point and say like, well, I'm done with that. I reached my vision, I reached my purpose. It is something that is in your brain pretty much the whole life. And I think one very important point is start like reflecting on it. Ask yourself the questions again, like what is my why? Why do I get up in the morning? And ask, for example, answer those questions again for you. So keep that in mind, and like also you can train your mind, for example, on focus. I'm definitely going to send you a great great podcast with Dandapani. He was a Hindu priest, and he explains a lot about focus. But I think with focusing on the why, you always have to refresh your mind. What is your why? And the more you do it, the easier it gets for you. And you're 100% right. Like, you don't see the results at the moment. For example, for me, it took like a couple of years. I did a coaching training like 4 years ago, and now is the time I'm starting to work with that. But for me, for example, it took like 4 years to get in this direction. So it definitely takes time, 100%. So also, like, if you write your answers down, it's going to take time. And the same thing, you have to motivate yourself. But if you have a strong why, and you know why you get up in the morning, this probably helps you to keep on going in a certain direction and helping finding topics or finding a job or finding anything that helps you fulfill your purpose.
So Barbara was asking if you can send the link of the video that you mentioned, the podcast.
Yes, for sure.
You could either send it now in the chat, or you send it to me and I forward it to later to all you guys.
I think I probably just send it to you, Melly, and then you can share the slides and the links and stuff. I can definitely send you guys some links and ideas.
Then I will forward it to all of you. For those who have to leave, because time is mostly up. Thank you for coming. For the other ones who still have questions, we can still stay a bit longer to answer your questions. And definitely, it's not a simple, easy thing to find your why. Take your time for that. And I think, Janik, you're always open to answer more questions, and you can always reach out to him, guys. So I will send you an email also with Janik's contact data.
Yes.
And yeah. And for those of you who stay, there was another question of Laura. How much time did it take you to answer the questions? And did you answer all of them at once?
For me, it was like a day. And I didn't answer all at once. I had those questions in front of me printed out, and then I started answering one question a bit, then the other one, then the next one. So it started like the answers were created during a day. But it can take up to a couple of days. It can take a couple of minutes. It depends on how long you want to take it. I recommend you to set like a certain time frame for it to start working on it. So maybe if you say now, okay, I have like 2 hours time for that, you really sit down for your 2 hours, work on those questions or like on those answers. And then if you notice in that time, well, I need more time, set another time frame for it. But it's sometimes something, if you're just working on it for now and don't set any like time frame or anything like circumstances, it might get a little fuzzy and you probably keep on going very long. But just start on it.
There was also a comment, and I think that might be true. He says, she says, I don't think it's a good idea to talk to others because often people dream too small. And those who make their dream come true are often laughed at first.
Yes, definitely. This is something, be careful about who you choose. I think there are people who are willing to support you, and there are people who are maybe not able to support you, or maybe, like you said, maybe laugh at you. I think if you find someone who is really willing to support you, you can do it. If you can't think of anybody right now, I wouldn't do that either. So very good input. Yeah, well, it really, if you find the right person, it might help. But on the other hand, don't force anyone to help you on that. On the other one, if people laugh at you or like laugh at your vision or whatever, that's very sad, yes, but that's probably how the human being is sometimes is. Maybe can even motivate you to work harder on your purpose, and it can be even motivate you to work harder on what you're doing. because a lot of times people can't see what you see, and they, in the first point, can't believe why you're getting up in the morning to do something. But as I said, in the end, they probably gonna look back and tell you how great you did. So definitely keep on going.
Good comment. Also, first I ignore you, then I laugh at you, then I fight you, and then you win.